loads in the way of planning and preparation. Just go for it. Now, I kind of have an idea often. Sometimes it's a scene, sometimes it's a situation. The structure of a Hello, well, it says here we are live. So, trying a different little microphone down here, so I hope it is working. I hope people can hear me. So, this is one of my little behind the scenes videos. I've got my little mug of coffee here with my Everything's Going to Be Okay mug, which is rather nice. And it's hard to keep track. I must keep a list of what I've dealt with in these things. But one question that I quite often get asked is, how long does it take you to write a novel? Because, you say to people you're a writer and they say, all right, okay, how long does it take? Possibly because they've heard these sort of the grand literary authors say that they've, had to go away and hide in a rainforest or up a mountain or somewhere and live on noodles for 5 years before they managed to get their magnum opus written. So I take quite a sort of a blue-collar approach, is a phrase I've borrowed from a sci-fi author and general good guy and indie author supporter Craig Martell. The idea of being a blue-collar writer, it's a trade, if you like. It's a craft. That's how I think of it. I don't think of it as anything too precious. I mean, it is very precious to me, but it's a job that I've taken on, and I try to get better at crafting the books as I go along. The answer is a little bit difficult for how long it takes to write a novel, because obviously some take longer than others. But to give you an idea of what a good day is like today, I've been working on the next crime thriller in the Devonshire Crime Thrillers. It's another adventure for Detective Constable Spiller, this time set in 1993. The first one, Lawful Duty, was set in 1992, as you may know. And so this one takes him a little bit longer into his career. And it's quite a fast type book to write. As you've probably picked up by now, I don't do loads in the way of planning and preparation. Just go for it. Now, I kind of have an idea often. Sometimes it's a scene, sometimes it's a situation. The structure of a police procedural type book is a bit more laid out, although I do have fun with it. I do play with that a bit myself. They don't always have multiple points of view, and I tend to write that kind of book where I'm not happy with doing just one point of view. I like to sort of mix things up a bit. So, a good day this morning, if I sort of get up in good time and just settle straight into writing and try not to get distracted, I don't look at email, don't look at social media, nothing like that. Don't look at Substack even. I leave my phone away. I leave it charging overnight in the night, and I don't pick it up in the morning. Simple as that. Don't pick it up till lunchtime. Sit at the computer and crack on with it, and I quite quickly done 1,000 words by the time I could have a break for coffee, sort of mid-morning. So stepped away from the computer, had a coffee, had something to eat, some nice healthy snacks like nuts and bananas and things like that. And then get back to it. Again, still no email, no social media, no phone. And I was able to get another 1,000 words done before lunchtime. That would be quite a good start to the day. And if I didn't have anything else to do, like recording this and writing newsletters and things, I dare say I could have got another 1,000 words out, making it a sort of 3,000 word day. And that would be a very good day for me. There are times in the past when I've done more. I think I've even done double that. Now, that would probably have been when I was writing the sci-fi comedies, the ones that start with the Brent Bolster ones that start with Dial G for Gravity. And because they were light-hearted and fun, and it was all really about trying to make some good jokes, which is a lovely thing to spend the day doing, I would somehow get more of those done in a day. But to give you an idea, just on the sort of thing that I'm working on these days. So the first one, Lawful Duty, I did part of it as a NaNoWriMo, that's National Novel Writing Month, where you aim for 50,000 words in a month. And I got that done with a day either side to spare. But then I added maybe about half as long again over the following few weeks. And so the first draft, which is fairly rough, fairly messy, not too bad, I have to say. My first drafts are fairly as I want them. But I try not to stop for things like research, looking things up, unless it's necessary. Unless I can't visualize the scene without seeing the thing or the place. That can happen sometimes. You just draw a blank and you think, how can I write about people being in this house? I have no idea what kind of house it is. Let's have a quick look. I might go to an estate agent website and just look for because you can find houses in an area and you can sort of even get an idea of how much they're worth. So if you want somebody to live in a posh house or not so posh house, you can find those places. Quick look on Google Maps, you can get an idea what the whole street is like. So that might be necessary in a book like that. In others, like in the Darkening Stone books, where the whole place is fictional, that would just really come from my mind and a sort of scribbled map that I would draw as I went along. But the same with a car or something, and I don't know what car the person's going to drive. I might put a placeholder because it's not that significant. So I use little square brackets and I just put them in there because then I can search for those later. They stand out when I'm doing the second draft. And that's when I go and do the research and say, okay, this person has this car. So it's got this many doors, this many seats, it's this colour. That would be for those books, because they do lean on reality a bit more than some of my other books. So that 7 weeks for that first draft would be pretty good progress for me. And that's a 70-odd thousand word book, I think. 70-odd to 80,000, I forget, about their reasonable sized novel. And I didn't have a plan for that beforehand. Didn't have an idea of it. Didn't really even have all the characters. And I was still able to sort of keep up in that time a bit. I think I managed to keep up with newsletters and things. And do other sort of odds and ends. Plus, daily life. I'm not immune from that. I'm not immune from putting the laundry on and, making dinner and things. So that gives you an idea about what a good day for me would be like and how many words I could produce. Those, 3,000 words a day, they'll be pretty clean, which is a sort of a bit of a writery type thing to say. They won't need that much editing. But sometimes if I'm trying to be quick, I will miss out a lot of the punctuation because, believe it or not, it does slow you down. So I'll miss out, not commas maybe, but I would, and full stops, but I'd miss out all the speech punctuation, for instance. Just make sure it's on a new line. Each person's dialogue, write the dialogue, he said, maybe, hit return, do the next bit. And that is, I found, incredibly quicker than overthinking it. Perhaps it's because conversations flow naturally and you want somebody to say, well, he said this, she said that, this was this other person's reaction. And it's easier to do that if you try and keep in the flow of that. It's almost like you're keeping up with the characters and the way they're speaking. So that would be a sort of trick I would use. So cutting out the research, cutting out the distractions, skipping the speech punctuation. I will often try to force myself not to put in too much body language as well, because if I find in a section I'm constantly putting, people are raising their eyebrows or something or shaking their heads or whatever, I often have to take a lot of that out in the second draft. So it's best just to say, just leave it. We'll figure out if it's absolutely necessary, then, and it is useful and it, in all kinds of ways, perhaps that's a topic for another day. Use of how I use body language in things. Yeah, could do that. Non-verbal cues, I guess you would call them. We can come to that another time. But it's easier to put it in than it is to put in 3 times more than you need and have to take out 2/3 of them later. Because if you can get a bit of momentum, if you can get a bit of flow, some people talk about being in a flow state, and that can happen to all kinds of people. You know, it can be a tennis player or a cook or somebody who's doing something which they get into a rhythm of, and away it goes. You know, they're in the zone, so to speak. And because writing novels, by their nature, or most kinds of writing, you want them to flow quickly. But novel writing, you really want people to enjoy it and relax and go with the flow, just feel like, you know, one thing leads to the next. So you don't have to stop and think about it, because nobody wants to stop and think, what on earth is going on in this book? At least I don't anyway, which is where I fall out with a lot of literary fiction, because, you know, sometimes people take delight in being obscure. I don't want to do that. I want to do the opposite of that. I want it to be just an enjoyable ride, so that you go along with it and think, this is great fun. I'm enjoying it. I'll buy the next one. I'll tell all my friends. But you know, that's what I'm aiming for. Novel writing or short stories, if I'm doing those, that just take you along for the ride. And I try to get out of the way so that you can get on with it. And sometimes that is slower, actually, because it's very easy to do, believe it or not, it's easy to do very wordy, very flowery prose, to sort of get a bit above yourself and put all kinds of things in which aren't really necessary. And they are the things that will come out later. They're the things you want to be taking out, in my experience. And take it back to being in the moment for those characters, so the reader will feel in the moment, hopefully. And it will, you know, feel like an immersive experience. Oh, there's Mrs. C coming in. I don't know if that's picking up. Probably a good cue to finish the last of my coffee before it goes cold. I hope you enjoyed that. Because you're a paying member, if you're watching this, do feel free to use the chat, use the comments. I'd love to hear from you, so we can have a bit of a conversation. That's kind of what the paid membership is all about. Have a bit of a conversation. What do you want to know? What do you want to say about it? Do you disagree with me? I don't mind. You know, you can tell me what you think. I'd love to know what you think about the books and the stories and the things I write. Is there anything that you particularly like or don't get on with? It's all good to hear about. It's really interesting. And that's a good way to do it in the comments and on the chat on using the Substack. Okay, I'll sign off for now. Look after yourselves. Happy reading, and take care. And I'm sorry this isn't on the usual day, but I've got all out of step for some reason. I think it was a recent heat wave that we've had here in the UK. So take care. Talk to you soon. Bye.